we need to get that in sync, bro. We back Sunday, fresh out. Look how pink we are, bro. Just to rep, like I'm fully pink. Like fully pink today.
That is very pink.
Actually, bro, and I love the settings. The bits and bobs walls are growing. My little shrine over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
I love how... I always remember when I used to go around Christian Eager's gaff in the UK, and they used to have always prints laid out like you've got them there, like sick ones as well. Do you know what I mean? Just like too many to even hang up.
Yeah, one day.
You know what I'm saying? But it must get like that, innit? How are we, Michael? What's going on? Fresh energies and that?
Yeah, good, man. I'm in a slightly different location today. I'm at home, but everybody's out, so yeah, it just feels quite nice. Like I can shout, I can scream, do whatever I want. It feels quite nice.
Nice, bro. Got rid of the gang, yeah.
Well, yeah, sort of. It's been quite a busy day. I took Mimi to ballet, and then took everybody to the friend's house, and then went to watch my brother compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Oh yeah, how did he do?
He did good. He got silver in his first blue belt competition.
That,
so yeah,
bro. Sick, bro.
Yeah, really good, really good. So yeah, all good. But then yeah, straight back on the motorway, and I'm here live for the pod.
That, bro. Love that.
How's your weekend been?
Nice, I've had a sick weekend. I went to Action Bronson, did a pop-up on Green Street in Manhattan yesterday. Well, he's doing it all weekend, Friday to Sunday. And I went down, caught myself some crap in terms. They're sick, actually. Do you want to see them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Look at the crepes for the people watching there. You get me? Little smokers there.
Yeah, nice.
New little burners and that. So yeah, treatments out to them, queued up the time. But my boy Cam came and linked me. So we had a nice chat.
Did you meet him?
I seen him. I didn't actually meet him. I'm not. We locked eyes.
That's cute.
It's mad, you know, because like Action Bronson always kind of really epitomised New York for me. I've always watched Fuck That's Delicious and stuff like that, and he's so New York. Obviously, he's from Queens, and just being in the same room as him, it just kind of felt cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've been watching him for time, haven't you?
Yeah, time, bro. I've never really kind of listened. I've listened to his music and a few tracks and whatever. A lot of the stuff that he did with like Mac Miller and stuff like that, them kind of like single tracks. But I've never really been that massive of a fan of his music. Just more so him as a figure. You know what I mean? And what he does with his vlogs and that. Yeah. I've always kind of with his natural wine kind of excursions and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And that like very much in that world here and there. You know.
I loved it. I'm gonna have to pull a picture up here of the pictures of when you went to that California vineyard, and it was so funny because you look so gangster.
I had my I think I had them Dickies fucking overall things on or something.
Yeah.
Mad thing, but nah, it was sick, bro. And then caught up my friend Ryan. Obviously, our friend Ryan should I say now. Has just left. He's just left New York and gone back to the UK, which I'm absolutely gutted about. But we move, bro. We keep things moving.
Keep moving. What's Ryan doing now?
I think he's just going to go freelance for a bit. He's going to stay freelance. I think. I don't know if he'll take anything permanent just yet. Not speaking for him, but do you know what I mean? He's kind. But yeah, his missus is obviously out from Cali, so she's never really experienced the UK and that. So I think they're both really excited to kind of experience that fresh. And I think obviously it adds a bit of freshness for Ryan as well to see it vicariously through someone else's eyes when they're excited for the first time again. And,
I watched a video of I think it's an American family who moved to the UK. And it was just fucking pissing it down like the first few days.
Well, she needs to check that, do you know what I mean? Because I said that to Ryan, do you know what I mean? Because even in New York, when it's a bad day, like I always say on the podcast, that sun hits. Like I'm looking outside now in the sun. It's windy as hell, but the sun is hitting, do you know what I mean? It's a gorgeous day. It's beautiful in spring. But it's just when it gets in the middle of summer out here, it's too peak. But like he said, it's few and far between it in the UK. There's, what's it like today? It's been quite nice.
Without making it depressing, it's fucking beautiful today, lad.
Yeah,
like,
I've been told it's quite nice.
You're in the darkness for so long, for like 5-6 months. And then as soon as it comes out, it's just, you just open your chest out and look at the sun and just soak it all up. And you feel like you're gaining energy from the sun.
Bro, if I look weird today, I've hurt my neck this morning. I'm messing about with Georgia, fucking she's showing us jiu-jitsu stuff I was doing this week. She pulled my neck somehow. There's always something else, lad. You know what I mean? You get over one injury, lad, and like there's just another one. Georgia, I get more injured off Georgia. Do you know what I mean? Than I do bloody.
I was going to say that you get more injured from messing about at home, like the time you broke my finger.
I'll never live that down, bro. He's never been in a gi since. Literally, never been in a gi since.
Without further ado, I believe we've got our guest.
I hope he's wearing. I hope he's wearing pink.
What should we say?
It'd be sick if he is. What's going on?
Yes, Mike.
What's up?
Right, so first of all, Mike meet Michael. Michael meet Mike.
Love it to meet
Mike. Welcome to the What Does Your Mum Think podcast, Mike, and thanks so much for doing this on a Sunday.
Thank you.
A holy day, you know what I'm saying, and on my time zone for once. Do you know what I mean? How's things? How's your weekend been?
Good. Chilling. Walked around the city pretty much all day yesterday, so had a good time.
Yeah, nice. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, good. I was just saying to Michael then a minute ago, I went to Action Bronson. We're doing a pop-up for his trainers, so I went and queued for like a bloody idiot for an hour or two, waiting for these trainers.
Wait, what, New Balance? Is it
yeah,
still New Balance? Nice.
Yeah. So I got some of them. I didn't say hello, but I seen him in the. It was really cool because like he epitomizes New York for me. Like before coming out here, like the fuck that's delicious stuff and that. Like he's proper fucking, you know what I mean, Queens born, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And kind of surreal to be in the room with him. But
that's cool.
But yeah, man, sick. Right, so let's get into it. So we always like taking it straight back to the beginning. I want to know all the ins and outs. So. What was it like being little Mike back in the day? Where exactly are you from, Mike, again? Sorry.
Philly. Just outside
Philly.
of Philly. Delaware County.
Sick.
Delco for any of the homies listening. Well.
Nice. Big up. What's life like there?
Pretty suburban. It's outside of a big city, but not like New York, not the biggest city. It's kind of it. It's very suburban.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it. Nothing fancy. A big sports town. Aside from that, like it's kind of what everyone rallies around.
Yeah, nice.
So it gets more interesting as I get older. As we start to get out of the summer. But starting off super dry.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it in like 3 rounds. So we've got 3 rounds to take through. Imagine we're having a couple of bevs down the tavern, in it. Do you know what I'm saying? So the first round, getting to know you. So like, what was design like there? Like, was you inspired to do design from there, or was it something kind of you discovered there and took elsewhere?
Yeah. So as a little kid, I was obsessed with just like art, as I'm sure we all were to some degree. I grew up playing sports. Sports was like kind of the through line forever through kind of because of how I grew up and what was going on. It's a sports town. My parents put me in a sport every season. Basically, I like had to play a sport, which like got a little controversial when I was, trying to be an artist. And I was like, oh no, I'd rather kind of just paint at home, whatever. But yeah, there was this interesting tension of like really early on. I mean, I learned how to like ice skate before I could really walk. I played ice hockey. So there's kind of always sports. And with that, I don't know how it morphed into art, obsessed with art, but like I remember very vividly, like 3rd grade, I was just drawing hockey logos on people's trapper keepers. I remember like middle school, it was just funny. I was talking to someone about this the other day where people used to pay me like $1 to do like their initials in black letter on like the little trapper keepers in middle school. And it's funny because I'm just still obsessed with black letter. I didn't even realize that I was obsessed with that in Tavern. Every iteration of the Tavern logo is just some like weird ass black letter. Which is funny. So it really does go back. But yeah, so I was obsessed. I loved music, playing in bands in high school and stuff, made posters. I guess kind of the typical, from sports design in my elementary career. all the way up to posters and gig posters and shit like that. Just obsessed. Like I wanted to go and do music, album art. I thought like that was all you could do with graphic design. I'm just obsessed with it. And to go to art school and whatnot. So not really understand. I don't know. Design was really until I guess late high school into college, and then in college, as you start to get into it all and meet the professors who are actually practicing, you realize kind of what it is. And then we'll get to it. We'll get to it in a bit, but like that morphed into very much a whole different world of design that I didn't think I was ever going to be in.
Mike, what sort of sports were you playing, and also what sort of music were you listening to?
So for sports, it was a lot of ice hockey that morphed into, soccer, baseball. Literally, like every season I had to play something. So playing baseball in the summer, hockey pretty much all the time because it was ice time and it was in an ice rink, kind of in the suburbs. So like you could play whenever. I remember having to wake up at like 5 a.m. as a little kid to go play because that's when the only ice time you can get as kids is just like the shittest times.
Yeah, and that's wild.
It was, I mean, I don't know how my parents did that. I'd be like, fuck no, dude. You're gonna play soccer at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, get the fuck out of here. But hey, God bless them. And then as far as music goes, I was in we're not going to say the name here so people can't look it up, but a really, really shit metalcore band. But there was a lot of hardcore. Pennsylvania hardcore was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is like a subset of New York hardcore in that kind of mid-2000s, early 2000s, mid-2000s. So there's a lot of punk, which I really liked, but, it wasn't very good. So metalcore was a little bit easier to play. So we're kind of in that in-between type music stuff. It was also, this is like, 2004? So it was a weird time for music.
That's a good time for hardcore. Good
time maybe, but good time for hardcore.
Yeah, I'm really into hardcore, and I'm really into Black Letter, so I think we're going to get on well here, Mike.
Perfect. Nice.
Yeah, sick. And did you do college, uni, and stuff like that eventually?
So I went to Temple University. Their art school was called Tyler. My mom was a teacher, dad's a mailman, and they were like, "You're going to real school." And I was art school. I wanted to go to art high school, which I found out like halfway through my high school career. I was like, I want to go to the city, go to art high school. And they're like, no, you're going to go get a real degree. And so I went to Temple, which had kind of like, it was a real university. It was like, they're in the Sweet 16 every year for basketball. It's like a proper university, right? But they also had an art school that was like pretty prestigious for design, other categories too, which I'm not super familiar with. Definitely for design, we had like Jessica Hish graduated from there, Paula Scher from Pentagram,
nice.
And probably a billion other people I'm forgetting that are equally famous. But like there was kind of some clout that I didn't even understand what that was, but kind of fell into and got lucky. And also my parents were happy because if this all went tits up, I could go get a job, some corporate job somewhere.
Oh, wow.
We proved them wrong.
Yeah.
Best believe. We can make a career in this.
Yeah, nice. So from like obviously going from college essentially to your first job, how did that go about? Like, how did you did the college? I always say uni with the UK British terminology, but your college. Yeah. Did they set you up a little bit? Did they help you with connections? Did you have to reach out yourself? How did that go?
I think they did, kind of. I mean, throughout it didn't help me at all, though. I don't even know how I actually got that job. So there's a weird story. I graduated. You're thrown into. I had some summer classes that I had to finish off. So like everyone graduated because I focused on art and kind of maybe let the math and English slip a little bit. Not slip. I wasn't failing or anything, but I was kind of like, oh, we'll delay. And I'm just going to like fucking grind it out, portfolio review, make the book, get ready for graduation. So I had like some fuck off classes at the end of summer, which was kind of sick because it was like cool, graduated, working on, taking job interviews, but also doing like little bits and bobs here on these smaller courses so that I could kind of not be super pressured into it. It was kind of like a little delayed college, which is pretty sweet. So I had one more summer pretty much. But with that, I was picking up like little jobs here and there. And actually an adjunct professor of mine was like, oh, I work at this place in this far out suburbs, and it was pharmaceuticals. And it was $1,400 for the week, which was like, holy fuck, dude. That is so much money. Like, let's do it. I don't care what, I'll do whatever. And I was like, you're taking like sheets that were like this big and jamming literally 4-point copy into it. And that's pretty much all I was doing. It's like kind of production, kind of whatever, like just legal copy and making it fit, not designing it. You're just making stuff fit in boxes. And I was going nuts. It was brutal. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. I was making cool posters, and I was making videos and all this shit. And I was like, but $1,400 is a lot of money, you know. And so I made it 4.5 days. I did all the work. This guy was great, really hooked it up. But I told him like day 3, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, man. And he's like, yeah, it's not for everyone. So I did all the work, and I jammed through it, and I handed it to whoever, I don't know, some marketing person. They're like, cool, that's great. And I was like, cool, I'm going to go if that's it. It's like 4.5 days long. And never looked back. I did kind of get a hookup, but a buddy of a buddy was working at NBC Sports, and that's really where it was like my first official job, aside from the 4.5 days of this unofficial job. So NBC Sports, I didn't know what the hell was going on. He was just like, it's a contract to full-time position. Didn't know what the hell that meant at all. I was just like, cool, you're going to pay me? Great, let's do it. I'll do anything as long as it's cool. And then again, sports is the through line, right? So like, I was like, sports and design, what could be better? You know, I don't know, working for Sub Pop. Like that's about it, right? Like some record label could be the only cooler thing. So like sports and design. So I get there and I get put in an office. So there was like this place called Versus, which was basically a hockey network that got acquired by NBC Sports. So they were just kind of like in the Comcast building in Philadelphia. 30 Rock had all of the actual designers and doing all of the bigger properties. But we were this acquired brand that I just stumbled into, and they didn't know what to do with us. But there was a bunch of cool stuff going on. So it was like Sunday Night Football for the NFL. Tour de France 150 came up. MLS, which was kind of a thing, but not really, and definitely not like a national sports network thing of like really turning that on. Same for Formula One. We didn't like have that. We didn't know what that was in the States in 2011 or 12, whenever it was. So like these really cool sports things that like, I don't know what, but you know, kind of the first month or so, they were like, all right, here's your office. I got an office. No one else did. They're like, why is this fucking kid in literally a corner office over there next to the CEO of this acquired brand? And I'm just like, and no one can see my screen. So I'm like, so freelance here and there. I'm just like everything. Right. But they're like, cool, cut out these football players. That's all I did. And literally like pen tools, silhouette. I didn't know. I went to highly conceptual design school, right? Like, I knew how to use Illustrator. I knew how to like block print so that I could get the type to make the poster, to do the thing, to get the texture, right? Like all the cool stuff. I didn't know how to use the pen tool very well in Photoshop, which is crazy, especially if you look at my book. So I like how to Google like how to properly silhouette and blur the edges and shit like that. So I'm Googling all this stuff, like just trying to figure it out. Obviously, figured it took a day. Figured it out, and then I was just like, all right, I'm just going to keep getting good at this. I didn't want to keep this job. This is so easy, and I want to be doing the shit that all the other guys are doing. And so I just got really good at that, which is what an example I always use for younger designers, where it's like, just get really good. Just eat shit and get really good. And not like in a bad way, just grind it out to like get good at the hard skills. Because if you're fast enough to do that, and this is exactly what I did, is I got really fast to do that, and then I was free. And instead of being like free, being like, give me more work, I just go bug everyone else in the studio and be like, hey, can I throw a route in there? Can I try something here? The best story I always tell is like, they had these editing bays that kind of just look like small little studio rooms, kind of the caves at agencies where, we work, where all the multimedia guys are, but like times 1,000, like super dark, big machines. It looks like Star Trek, where they're like editing on these things called Avid, way before Final Cut, all this stuff. They still use it in television. And it's like, kind of like a control room of like SNL or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And they're editing, and I walk in there and they're like, what, I'm throwing feedback, and I'm like, kind of like, oh, what if you did this? And they're making promos. They're making like 15-second promos with just B-roll. And I was like, what if I did like a super? What if you took this super? I can animate it too if you want. Like, what if? And they're like, great, we'll just slap it on top. They're like, this kid's gonna do our work for us? Hell yeah! So the story being is like, get really good at like the bad stuff, and then just go like start poking around. And that's what I did. And that's where I really like expanded, because it was entertainment, because it was like these different mediums that weren't campaign based. So like no one's precious about a 15 or a 30 that's going out to promote the Philadelphia Union local, to the Philadelphia market, or like the Seattle Sounders that's going to air for maybe the weekend. They just need content, and they're grinding and moving fast. So I'm just getting to make stuff, and it's shipping and going fast. And it was awesome. So that was kind of my first job where I was like, oh, I'm starting to get this now. This is fun, and this is where I want to be. And then also you get to mess with mediums, which is really awesome.
You mentioned then, Mike, that there was other creative opportunities that you could see other people working on, maybe different agencies or different pieces of work. When you was working at NBC at that time, what was sort of like the agency or the places that you wanted to be, or the sort of projects you wanted to be working on at those times?
Like internally, what did I want to be working on?
So when you was at NBC and you was like, you mentioned that you saw other people doing other creative work, and you was like, I want to be doing more of that. Like, what was that sort of work that you felt, I'm going to move on to that next?
So that was more internally. So you'd have kind of your individual teams. It was in-house, but it was very similar to a creative agency. So you'd have the editing guys, you'd have kind of retouch, which I weirdly fell into because they just needed hands, and that's why I was cutting out football players. You'd have digital, and there's a lot of banner ads and shit like that being done, which was crazy even in that time, like a little bit archaic. And then you'd have like kind of an out-of-home team, which is more like the advertising marketing team. And then there'd be the new stuff, which the creative director kind of ran. And he would actually, I think we worked with Gretel at the time. I didn't even know who Gretel was. It was just like, oh, cool, some agency like pitching us ideas. Like, it was very strange. Later realized like, oh, it's pretty sick to be a first job, just getting pitched ideas.
Really sick.
Like,
yeah, man.
Could have been using the worst agency for sure, right? Like, and so there was all these different departments, and I just liked all of them because I thought they were all somewhat disjointed, but they all fit together. Obviously, you had to make the output that was all cohesive. But even down to copy, where I was hanging out with the copywriter and just like tweaking stuff with them, which is I guess a traditional like art director copywriter thing, but I just made it up. I was just so interested in what's happening, and I didn't know anything at all. I knew conceptual poster design, right, from like the 80s, and some web, which I wasn't doing that. So it was really poking around and just kind of exploring, which was really great. And there was nothing could go wrong. Like the pressure was weirdly very low. Obviously there was pressure, but it was so low for me because I'm just like adding to, right? Like I'm just the junior guy being like, let's make this better. Let's make this better. Let me try something. I got to try it, and I didn't put it on a deck sometimes. Like it didn't matter. It was great. I was just like happy to be doing stuff.
Is that what because I love how you speak to design practice. I'd love for you to elaborate on that as we kind of go through. But is this the kind of beginnings where you was working out like the kind? I love how you put it with obviously with, football, well, whatever athlete kind of practices more than they actually play, and I love that take on it. So is this where you kind of like subconsciously start understanding this?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think you connected the dots there for me, but yeah, I suppose that's the time, right? But it is that, because it's like, I don't know, we're designers, we want things made, but at the same time, we just want to be making things. And I think, I don't know, me personally, I kind of get bogged down where it's like doing the same thing. We'll get into this later too, is like doing the same exact type of thing, capital B branding all the time.
Yeah.
Give them a new logo, give them a new kit apart, whatever. It just gets really boring, and I don't think it makes any sense. So I'm on a tangent. Yes, this is the start of design practice. I think that is what everyone needs to be doing all times. Even myself, I still do it in different types of arenas, right? Like it's less like right now I'm practicing less on actually like making things, but I'm really deep into like behavioral psychology and like Rory Sutherland, Cialdini, all of that kind of stuff, which is, again, like you're just sharpening skills. I think maybe it's less about practice. Maybe we need to refine this a little bit. Maybe it's less about practice and more about like educating yourself constantly. And like, it's education plus upskilling, which I guess is practice, but it's,
Yeah. No, I like it.
We're gonna go
I think it's great. Nah, it's sick. And what that building on it would do, I don't know if you know Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO guy. Obviously, you know. I was watching one of his vlogs the other day, and he does this thing internally where he has an award for the person who's made the most amount of failures that week. Like, who's failed the most that week. Do you know what I'm saying? And the kind of the discoverable moments that kind of come out of failing, you know, and like trying things and practice, you know, and stuff like that. So I think it's a really interesting take, you know, because again, like the more like. And again, I've read a few of your articles. I'm all about fuck Pinterest, like for all that. Get outside for your inspiration. Do you know what I mean?
We're talking for hours about this.
Do you know? And it stresses me out too. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where the beautiful things kind of come, right? For these kind of like serendipitous moments where you are exploring in like weird places and stuff.
But that's practice too, right? Like, you know, practice. I don't know. There's a lot of different skills, if golf or football or whatever. Like, there's a lot of different, golf's easy. There's a lot of different shots to be made that are physically completely different. A putt is so different from a drive, right? To put it uber simply, I can talk about nerd golf shit for far too deep. So I'm trying to keep it top level. But like, so different. And I think that's the thing too, where like one's inspiration and one's actually doing it. And then one's, you know, maybe strategy or like educational bits, and they all play a role. So, and I agree. I feel like going back to college a little bit, you'd always have those professors, not just in design, but also in, I did a bunch of printmaking and painting, and in those categories where they're like, go out, explore things, look at old things. And you'd be like, I mean, this is when the iPhone came out, not to date myself too much, but it's like, but like, I can just Google it, you know, like I can just look that shit up. And sure, we love doing it, but I remember there was like a slight rejection to it, to where now I feel like I'm the old head being like, get the fuck off the computer, please. I'm so tired of it. Go, like, stop sitting here, go to lunch, go deep into Fort Greene for lunch and go get lost for a few hours. Like, few hours. I don't give a shit. You're going to come back with something a lot better. Right? Like, you just need to like absorb it, especially in like kind of post-COVID world, which is we're still in. Like, everyone's so stuck in the computer and stuck at home and not expanding ourselves that you do really just need to like breathe a little bit. So I think that's one portion of practice. But yeah, the practice thing is I'm sick of it. We show up. It was really nice at NBC because there was no pressure. I was also 22 years old. Yeah. They weren't banking on me for anything but a few football quarterbacks cut out by the end of the week, right? Like, and if I fucked up, someone else could pick it up. But now, you know, as we progressed in careers and as we're all a little bit older now and slightly more senior, it's on you. You got to deliver, and you kind of got to deliver pretty hard all the time. And we don't have that time to practice. So the design practice thing being like, it's Sunday, it's game day every single day of the week. When the fuck are you going to practice? How did I practice it? I just have to literally throw Hail Marys every single day and win every game all of the time. You need to be able to fail. You need room to fail. You need to set up room for your team to fail. I love the failure thing. Like, I love like Bartlett and like all the hustle bros and all that shit. Like, deep into that, right? But like, at the same time, it's not about failure. It's about, I think, rebranding it to practice makes it okay. If I can only do, 8 push-ups instead of 10 in my third set. Like, that's okay. I still got 8 push-ups in. It's not failure. It's change in the bank, right? Like, and that is what needs to be done with the work. Because just a little more change in the design bank is going to go a far, far way. And I think some people are really great at it, and then some people just like, I don't think like are encouraged to do it or will take the initiative to do it. So I really like to just like fucking drive it into people. It's like, stop what you're doing, go make something else, go play around, go have an explore. I'll even give people little prompts during the day where it's like noon and I'm like, yo, just stop. Just do this, go make me this thing. No rules. Light brief. Just make something to change your mind up. Get you out of like the hole that you've been digging where you've just been so tunnel visioned on like one pack all day long. And give it 30 minutes and then let's go to lunch. Then we go to lunch. So you broke your brain, you practice a little bit on something so different. We go to lunch, eat a sandwich, sit outside, and then you come back and it's like the tunnel vision's gone. We can like hit the ground running. I got new ideas, you're fresh. And it's just like, no one does that. I mean, maybe some people, have had really great executive creative directors that were encouraging, and I've had great ones, but like, it was more about just like the grind to get the best work possible. And I just don't, Tom Brady's like, I heard a story where like he did like that, some golf pro-am, whatever. And the pro golfer was doing an interview where he pulled up to the parking lot in the morning, and this is getting filmed. I mean, Tom Brady's super famous, right? Like everything he's doing is being watched, and it's a major golfer, and him is being filmed, and he pulls into the parking lot, and the dude's doing wind sprints in the parking lot before an amateur golf tournament. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm trying to win a Super Bowl." That's when he went to Tampa Bay, and it's like, that's it, like, right? Like, that's the kind of vibe that you need. And I'm not saying grind it out 24/7, but I'm saying we need to be doing other things to get us to that pinnacle, to get us there. So it's kind of a little too deep on the practice.
Oh, Mike, I love all of that. Me and Michael will, to speak for both of us, will eat all of that up. I think we think very similar. Do you know what I'm saying? Most of our metaphors and analogies come from mixed martial arts. We've both always trained that. And it's same with what you're picking up. We can go the same thing about overtraining, but knowing when it takes confidence to take that day off and and stuff. But fully on board with everything that you're saying, Mike. And
day off. The day off. A day off isn't a day off, right? You're still going to walk around. You're still the day off is going to be cardio. Like there's no days off at the end of the day, but there's like proper training days off. Day off can literally be walking around at the West Village on a Saturday and just looking at different things, just seeing what strikes you and just exploring, right? Like going to a bookstore, going to an old bookstore, going to an old record store. So 100%. I think you just gotta. I think what it comes down to, and when I was trying to articulate this to someone else recently, I think the problem is you really just gotta really, really, really fucking like all of this stuff. And if you do, you just need a little encouragement to just build that in. But that's what it comes down to. I mean, like you guys too. I mean, you're taking 10 a.m. every Sunday to sit in front of designers. Like, you gotta fucking like it to do it, right? Best believe.
You know what I'm saying?
Likes football. I think it's fair to say he's pretty into it.
That's it, innit? 100%. And thing that gets us up in the morning, Michael, and stops us sleeping at night, innit?
Tell me
as soon as someone told us like we were good at this, like speaking for myself, like no one was ever taking it away from me, and I just wanted to discover how I can be the best at it. Do you know what I mean? For myself, and like hence why I'm in New York, and what you're saying there again, like wandering around these new streets and hitting up thrift stores and random spots. Like New York is great for it, like whatever area you walk in, sick, love it all. So for the first round, I think that's good. Second round, let's get a bit more juicy, hit the cocktails. Let's get into Tavern. So how do you want to do this, Michael? Do you want to pull up the deck, or do you want to prompt a few questions first and see how it coincides with the deck?
Well, it's also a question for Mike as well, because I know it's Sunday, but do you want to drive, Mike? Because
I can drive.
I know it's annoying if you're like, next slide. Do you know what I mean? And You're probably a control freak like us as well, so I can imagine that it's probably just better for you.
I didn't listen to anything you guys said, so I made like way bigger of a deck than I was supposed to.
Which we love as well, which is sick. Perfect. Break all the rules. There's no rules. Really quickly, I'm just going to go for a quick loo break while you pull this up. But everything good so far, Mike? Are you sweet? You can hear us all sweet.
We're back. Quick pit stop.
Nice. All right, so we're gonna kind of do. I'll rapid fire through my career because I think it's relevant. Because weirdly, and you know what, I even left out a slide, but which I shouldn't have. It's all right. But basically, my career was bookended by in-house jobs, which is odd, weird. Didn't think that was going to happen, but kind of really helpful because it kind of got an understanding of how internal teams work. They're a bit different. They have their own challenges, and then also the agency side. And I think it's really helpful to have both of those experiences when you're running an agency, which we'll get to, because as running an agency, you really understand the breadth of how both of the machines work, and you kind of work within that and really help your clients and make their work better and their lives better. But, starting off, and we talked about this, right? Like everything is all about sports all the time. I started my career in sports. The joke I say, which is not a joke, but like it was at NBC Sports, as we kind of talked about. But like my parent, going back, my parents were like, "You got to get a real education, a traditional education. Like art school is not that." And I did. I went through it. Honestly, thank God. I wouldn't have wanted to go to any other school, but after that, we're finally doing the NBC stuff, and like I made an MLS spot that was like an anthemic spot for kind of all the MLS coming to NBC Sports for the first time. We were in a pub, and I was with my dad, and I like pointed. I was like, I made that. I made like the part of that. Part of that. We did those titles, this and that, and he was watching. He was like, "Oh, I get it now." You're like, yeah, all right. It only took fucking 7 years and a fucking national spot playing at the pub for you to understand that, like, this is real. And, like, he got it, but, I think it truly, like, clicked. Like, oh, this is a real job.
Yeah, nice.
So, in the sports, kind of, like, tick, the parents are okay. They're off my back now, right? Like, I got a really big... I graduated, they got me into the real world, they're done. And then we go into booze. And so after NBC Sports, they moved to Connecticut, and I was like, I'm not moving to Connecticut. I was in Philly, loved Philly at the time, still do, but like loved being there and the creative there, and like wanted to stay there, not go to like Bumfuck, Connecticut to go, do the same job basically. And so moved to this place called Quaker City Mercantile, where I was tapped. I was leading the Hendrix Gin team at the time, doing full 360. They were an ad agency that were slightly transitioning into a design agency, which is really weird because I feel like everywhere else I worked was the opposite. Something that like doesn't happen anymore. But they were transitioning kind of over, but still had a bunch of hangover, and they were the AOR for Hendrix. They created Hendrix. And then we're the AOR continually. So we were doing very non-traditional out-of-home activations. We were throwing parties, literally made a flying cucumber, and did a big New York Times stunt with that. So it was really like big advertising stuff, just super weird, which was really cool. And I was struggling to find old images and old work, but like it worked on Pilsner Urquell, worked on Diageo, tons of beers. They had Narragansett at the time. They had Sailor Jerry, which was really cool at the time. Pilsner, I got to make this high van, which is so sick. Still one of the best. And we used to have this come over to the States, and they'd bring unpasteurized Pilsner Urquell, which is just like, I mean, you guys in Europe get it a lot more than we do here, but like unpasteurized beer is like the freshest, purest. It was fucking awesome. So we throw events there. We worked on the Brewers Project, which I'm sure, again, the UK folk probably have a lot more experience with, where it's like the higher end Guinness beers back in the day. Hop House 13 came out of that. I'm sure seen in pubs.
Yeah.
And then, kind of made my way through Philly. There was nowhere really else to go. You could work at Urban Outfitters, or you basically, literally, because they're headquartered there. And there's some other smaller shops, but like I wanted like big agency stuff. No, no shade on the shops at the time. It's changed a lot, but at the time in Philly. But I wanted big, and so I moved to New York, and I moved to New York to go to Stranger and Stranger, which was crazy. Stranger and Stranger was the only job that every job, and this is for the young folks, you need a way in. You're not going to just chuck your resume out there. And I tell this to the younger people because I don't want them wasting their time. And I see a lot of this shit on LinkedIn where it's like, oh, I didn't hear back. I didn't, da, 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 da. You're not going to chuck a resume out and get a call back, most likely. You might get lucky, but you need to bug the shit out of everyone who works there. Appropriately, politely. Don't be an asshole. Don't be annoying either. But like DM them, find out friends who have worked at that place, and go take that friend out to drinks and just start seeding them with like, maybe I could come and work there. If you hear them, you gotta like court these companies if you're really trying to work at some of the big places in New York. And I really encourage it because I think that's how you show how much you want to be there. But you also show like initiative before you can even, in a way that you can't convey even in a meeting, and definitely not in a resume. But randomly, this is the one and only job where this ever happened, where I just chucked a resume over and they were like, can you come meet us in New York tomorrow? And I was like, I'm in Philly. And they're like, okay, take the fucking train. Like, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna. And so the guy that Kaz, who's the creative director there, probably higher at this point now, but that was great. I didn't make it very long. I liken Stranger and Stranger to being like, the guy, there's some old business entrepreneur guys, like the best thing you can do is go to MIT for one semester and drop out. You got all the clout going there. You learn all the tricks of the trade before you get totally like stifled and working. So I kind of like stole all the little tricks of the trade there, learned a good bit from those guys. But it was so like pack. You do one pack, that's it. And I came from, Hendrick's Gin, where you're like, we're making fucking flying cucumbers and doing interactive hand painted out of homes. It was a little different. I love spirits. We'll talk about spirits in a bit, but so I was like, and really what I was missing was some beer. And I knew I had some connection with JKR, and I went and met some of those folks, and there was Budweiser. The Budweiser team was hiring. So very much more into that true 360, doing everything. Yeah, they worked with ad agencies and marketing agencies and whatnot, but like we were doing far more of the 360 of the brand and everything. So went to JKR specifically for the Budweiser team. Worked on Diageo and some other spirits along the way. Spirits is kind of always the through line, but beer and spirits were really the kind of the takeaway. So did tons of cool stuff there. This was around 2016. So this one popped off maybe for the wrong reasons, but had a good social backing. Supported Fold of Honor, the troops there. So people love that one. Doing throwbacks. We lit up the World Cup. It was really fun. I love packaging. I love making beautiful packaging and beautiful brands. But at the same time, I get so bored so fast, and I like doing bigger, weirder stuff. So this was interesting. It's not just making a key visual. We like literally made these beer cups that had lights in the bottom that like were connected. And it's pretty standard now. You see in the Super Bowl where they pan to the crowds and they got like the wave going with the lights and stuff. We did this all in the beer cups. So like whenever someone scored, the beer cups would go absolutely bonkers. And we literally like flew out to Silicon Valley to some weird industrial complex or whatever, and we're sitting like with engineers and stuff, and they're like handing us like these different cups, being like, is this the right brightness, is this red enough, and like whatever. It was really cool.
Yeah, nice.
So we got to do that, and then I think one of the coolest ones was the man of the match trophy, which I found out they're still using today, which is awesome. Like literally the 360 on that. I worked with the Bud team, the JKR Bud team, and also shout out to two kind of 3D guys that I really love, Will Kang at Aether and Lauren, who was also there. They were at 9999 at the time, but they were kind of our 3D team. But doing the physical 3D and stuff, again, that was all pretty new at the time as well. Now all these agencies have full 3D departments in kind of in their multimedia cave. But this was sick. I was like, all right, we get to do this. Before it was just some shitty bow tie 3D. You could look through it. It's like, that's boring. Every major player in the world is going to be holding this thing. We got to go nuts. And they're like, yeah, just go comp something up, basically. I was like, no, we're re-looking at this. We're rethinking this all together. And I was like, what? Again, hockey, sports. The coolest fucking part about the Stanley Cup is that it's a literal cup, right? That you can put things into. Not many some trophies are like that, not many are like that, but the Stanley Cup's known for like you dump a bunch of beers in it and you're drinking beers out of the Stanley Cup, right? We're Budweiser giving the Man of the Match trophy for the biggest tournament in the entire world, literally. We better be drinking beers out of this fucking trophy. And so we made this kind of like abstracted bow tie, which you can kind of see bow ties wrapping around, which is the Budweiser logo is called bow tie. And then and it lights up, it shoots through. We lit up the World Cup. So it shoots up through and kind of spews, if you're in a slightly darker room, it spews bow ties all around the room. It's kind of like a disco ball effect. It's literally a party. I mean, you're winning the Man of the Match trophy for the final round of the World Cup. It better be a party in a box. So you get that, and then you can actually pour a full beer. You get a full 16-ounce pour in the top, and you can chug out of your Man of the Match trophy. I mean, this photo, epic on all accounts. You got two of the best trophies in the world right there. With the best footballer in the world.
Yeah, crazy. I'd love to see him in the changing room after with that. Like everybody, there would have been some good shots. Definitely happened.
So that one was awesome, and then that's cool. Like you're doing shit like that. Why leave? Beer. It's always beer. I'm always chasing that next beer. And it was I ended up leaving there, going to Design Bridge. I kind of came time, after time. I like moving. I encourage people to kind of move on because you learn the way different agencies do different things, different experiences, different ways of working. And I went to Design Bridge. I went to Design Bridge purely because I knew they had Pabst Blue Ribbon. Obsessed. I obviously, as you probably have guessed, obsessed with heritage brands, and they had like all the trademarks for all of these. I did all this weird deep research of like, where are all these forgotten sick beer brands, and Pabst owns almost all of them. So I was like, I'm going to go there. I know they got PBR. And what we did was we actually worked with this guy, Matt Barun, who was ex-Diageo on Smirnoff for a really long time. He does a bunch of cool incubator work now, but in the beverage space, but he was leading Pabst as a whole. And he was like, we need a premium offering from Pabst, which is just a nightmare to even start to begin with, because PBR is just the shittiest, frattiest hipster beer there is. So I could talk about this one forever. We went deep into the archives, went to Milwaukee, went to this guy's, and we created this whole brand about it, about Captain Pabst, who was like the founder of Pabst, and it launched on March 17th, 2020, and it made it about 3 months. So we got absolutely fucked on that one, and it barely made it to the world. Killed immediately because of COVID, and no one was investing in beer. But had a good time and did a bunch of spirits, really like hone the spirits craft on the Diageo side of things, all the way down to like doing some Beam Suntory and some smaller work, which leads us nicely to Tavern.
Wow. Before we do get into that, you've had some journey. That's amazing, that, Mike. You know what I'm saying? And like, you've been a fly on some amazing walls, pardon the expression. And I love the kind of diverse kind of perspectives you've taken from the industry to then create this. You know what I mean? It's and again, like being in house. So even before this, you was a creative strategist at TikTok, right?
Yes. Which that was an interesting one too. So leaving Design Bridge, I was like, what am I going to do? I always wanted to start a studio. It didn't feel right just yet. I don't know why. Yeah. And an old colleague actually from Budweiser was working at TikTok at the time, and she was like, you got to come over. You're gonna love this stuff. And so I didn't know what to expect. I went over. It was creative strategy. Like I was saying earlier, I'm very much interested in strategy. I think strategy is half of design, if not more. Arguably, that'll be controversial, I'm sure, but like it's a huge role, and I think all designers need to be better at it. And again, I kind of treated that as like, oh, I'll do a year or so at TikTok, see what's up. In a pure play strategy role, I won't be allowed to like cheat. You know, I go to an agency as a strategy role and I start designing stuff and cheat a little bit there. There's no cheating. I mean, I was like forced to seriously write, not just write decks, but like write like in a brand strategist, comm strategist type of way, which is hard. I mean, you've seen the emails from me. I'm not the best writer in the world. So it was good practice at the end of the day. But it was really awesome. So and I encourage any designer or any creative account. I think everyone listening to this should be an account person, a strategist, or a designer. I don't believe in the separation of like the designers are the better ones in the studio. I think it's very much the triumvirate needs to be 100% and working, and I think everyone's creative from there. But so any one of those people, I do encourage you to kind of like take a sabbatical of sorts to maybe go do a contract somewhere. If you're in between, you're not super stoked on where you're at, go do something slightly different, but very much relative within there. You're just going to learn a lot. And I think I learned a lot strategically, and more from like a comm strategy point of view, big idea point of view, which was really just honing because I kind of learned that at QCM. And then also just from, again, internal. So like starting at an internal brand side of things, in-house design studio for NBC Sports, and now, you know, kind of ending this part of my career working for someone, I feel like I'm ending my career because I'm never fucking working for anyone again. But I always talk about it as like, that's fucking over. It's like college, right?
Yeah.
But ending it at TikTok, learning slightly different type of stuff. And with that, it was really a weird situation. It was TikTok Creative Labs. So real shortly, it was an internal ad agency with a bunch of different clients. And the clients were basically all of the clients in the world, right? Because like everyone's trying to advertise on either Meta or TikTok. So you had tons of verticals and everyone worked on different verticals. I was on CPG. I was brought in because they thought that alcohol was going to open up, and then I'd kind of own all the alcohol stuff. Alcohol just never did. They tried to ban it in the U.S. All the bullshit happened, right? And then so it was like, nope, we're going to be kind of more Puritan about all of this. We're just sticking with no alcohol, no nothing. We're sticking with CPG, and so I worked on the CPG stuff, working on like Procter and Gamble and Clorox. That's how I met the folks at Burt's Bees. They're owned by Clorox, and you know, Old Spice was one of them. And we'd come up with these, but also with the agencies. So we're the intermediary. For whatever reason, there is a reason. It's some technical law that says that the platform isn't allowed to make content, right? So TikTok or Meta or, you know, Instagram, Facebook, they're not allowed to actually be producing the content and putting that content out there because it's unfair advantage, whatever. So we weren't allowed to physically make anything. So we could do almost everything up to shoot and create the content. Like I could write the script if I wanted, but like we'd have to give it to Old Spice, or Old Spice would have to give it to Wieden Kennedy, and they'd actually go execute and shoot the stuff and make the stuff. So again, a weird restraint put on a designer who is like, I want to make the fucking thing. And it's like, you're not allowed to make the thing. You need to like, it was like really like, it was actually reflecting on it now, actually like really nice to be forced to not finish things, to not be perfect, to not like craft the whole thing to the end, to really like focus on the big idea of the thing and make sure that big idea was super sharp and super tight so that when handed to someone, they didn't fuck it up basically. And so I did a lot of that, and then we were advising for agencies. So I'd have like a weekly with the Vayner team who was doing a lot of Gillette stuff, and basically we're like the gurus on like what's the most native on the platform, how do we fix this, and we workshop with them. So it was really cool also to just be working with like really great ad and media agencies and their teams that I would never get that experience from. There is that weird benefit, again, the Gretel me being a super junior and working, getting pitched to by Gretel. Like there's something really cool about working in house where you get a peek inside of these bigger places that you never would. Like even if you do kind of take a track where you're working on a bunch of big places, you get to see the inner workings, which is really neat. Especially Vayner, I think that because it's so different, because they have more a media agency than they are, traditional advertising. I don't think they'd like me saying that, but they kind of start as more media, and the way that their teams think and work are more media focused than a traditional ad agency is. So I'm down a rabbit hole, but it was really, really interesting to kind of like learn all this newish stuff, and it's really exposure, I guess, to all this newish stuff before we then landed at Tavern. But what I did was I took all of these experiences to create Tavern, right? Tons of sports, tons of booze, a lot of design, a lot of strategy, ad agencies, design agencies, packaging only agencies. And I said this for a long time, but started this company, this agency on purpose, because I was like, why? Like everyone wants to be a 360 agency, but when it gets cut down, they're just like a branding agency, or they're just an advertising agency, like kind of selling a shitty product on like the rest of the 3D that you're ultimately doing. Or that's not everyone, or the client's not trusting you enough to actually do it. They're like, yeah, you're 360, but I'm still going to have this ad agency in my back pocket doing 60s for me. So I was like, there's got to be a happy medium here, because at the end of the day, if you take all the experience that I've accumulated, and my belief on brand is like, you need to be, and this is what was happening in the 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe some of the 80s, like, the brand was through the line. It was more advertising agencies doing your design, your marketing, and your advertising all in one, and they were the guardians of that full brand. So they're influencing the business decisions, but they're also influencing all these other touch points because it's all together. And there's this beauty in it all being all together. So that's what I wanted to instill and work with clients to where like we see them through the line. It doesn't happen all the time. They still don't trust you, but like a lot of the time, that's what we try and do with our clients, where it's like, we'll give you the rebrand, but like, we're not done yet. We're going to keep it going. We're going to help you in every type of way. We'll talk about Sizzler in a little bit, but like, we're going to do your employee, like how your employees speak to the consumers, which like, who does that work? That should be the in-house people doing that work, right? Like we work with their team to do that. So down to the nitty gritty that isn't necessarily showable in a case study, definitely not in an hour-long podcast, but going deeper into all of that, because that's what I think truly builds the brand long-term. Now I'm into philosophy, so we got to stop me and we can kind of step back.
Dude, it's sick. So was it easy to land on the name Tavern then?
Yeah.
Was it always Tavern? Yeah.
It was always Tavern. There was a few stop starts for Tavern with that name, with some really good friends that like, oh, we're gonna do it, and then it's like, nah, we got a job. I'm gonna go to Bridge instead. It's like, and so like, but I was always stuck on it. I remember having to ask a really good buddy of mine. I was like, can I use the name? I came up with it, but I was like, I know it's like, it was ours. Like we were working towards it. I'm going to keep the name. Is that cool? I was like, yeah, absolutely. I think it cost me a beer maybe, which was appropriate. But the idea always from Tavern was, it's all about great ideas, right? And like in America, all great ideas were founded in a tavern, literally over some pints. And I think throughout history, most likely all great ideas were really decided upon with handshakes and cheers, to be a bit romantic about it. But at the end of the day, if you do break down Tavern, and I love it, and I hope this comes through in our work, I love just being like super telegraphic in ideas. At the end of the day, we focus on food, bev, and hospitality, sometimes sports, which a tavern literally, a historical tavern was a bed and breakfast up top, basically. Like there was rooms to stay, and they offered full meals and full booze. So like a tavern literally encompasses all of the types of work that come out of here. So a bit cliche, but literal on purpose too, because that's the type of work we want to be working on. Food, bev, hospitality, sports. And then sports is a little cheating. It's like a 21st century one, but like, if you're going to a bar and the football's not on.
Yeah, exactly. So there's still
really
a connection. Yeah.
So,
I love it, mate. I love it.
So getting into projects. So I do have 5 projects. We could jam through some, but I try to pick a nice breadth of them because like we don't like we do the bread and butter. We do the packaging, the high end, the $200-300 bottles of booze. But the way we do it is very much this thing that I didn't necessarily coin, but it's very much our philosophy, which is modern heritage. So everything we do, we really love working on heritage brands, and those heritage brands, you don't want to just redo them, right? I don't like the idea of retro nostalgia. Nostalgia is the new fucking what a design blog term for it, and it's driving me absolutely nuts because like that's not what it's about. It's not making old dusty bullshit. As much as I love that. If I had my own way and I didn't have to appease clients, would I make like 1960s Budweiser cans and have a dark, dusty old dive bar as my office? 100%. But at the end, but that's the shit we like. But from a business perspective for these brands, you do need to modernize them. You need to keep them up and keep them within the contemporary world. But I think so much so, these brands, we ditch so much of the heritage in rebranding them, and they become sterile and too modern, which ultimately hurts the brand. So I really believe in that kind of half balance of being modern or being playing true to your heritage, but also being modern. And then that comes to life in these products and when we make marks. So we don't make any mark for the sake of making a mark. Everything needs to be pulled from history in some type of way and you pull it from history and then you modernize it. So a good example, kind of annotated this a little bit so you could see where all of these things are directly pulled from the history, directly pulled from like deep archive scouring, going on eBay and finding and buying old bottles and scanning the stuff in, like really doing the research, not going on Pinterest. You're not going to find any of these things there. Really going deep into that, but taking them and then reinventing them for a contemporary sense. And then, of course, you still need a big idea on top of all of this. This is highly executional design nerd bullshit that we could talk for till the cows come home about. But we make these choices without I like this new cool typeface. Let's throw Windsor on there and it'll be cool and modern and contemporary. No. There needs to be a reason why you chose that typeface. Sizzler uses Windsor, and I know that was like trendy a few years ago, and we're going to talk about later why they use Windsor, because they used it all throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Makes sense, nice. Right? So being really like intentional with every single mark you make, and I think you get better products that way. And so everything we do kind of has this rigor put against it, but then at the same time, you need what makes it modern. Other than like modernizing the pieces, then you're just making a contemporary thing. Great. The modernity of it is really violating the label here, which is like the Big 16. They used to do bonded hand stamp and whatever. So violating that in a super contemporary way, so that it feels like of the time, and you want to balance that really nicely. So that's what we're trying to do with all of these, and then hopefully this plays. Then you bring this presumably old dusty thing as we saw before and really start to animate it and bring it to life, introduce some new marks inspired by the past. So like the OGD monogram we did make up, but all of the nuance of the letters and the serifs and the way that they're formed was really pulled from this one specific weird thing on a back of pack that we found from the 60s, which is like post-prohibition, but playing to prohibition, real nerd stuff. So bringing that in, and I think this also bringing it into the 21st century with a bit of motion and design that, a lot of these high-end spirits just aren't doing, because you put this on the shelf, it's just going to sell. It's an old heritage brand that costs a lot of money, but really like starting to implement that from a media perspective more into the contemporary. Another old dusty boy, Old Overholt, which is Old Overholt was the first ever rye. I think I'm getting that right. I'm pretty sure it's the first ever American rye, made in Pennsylvania. Nice. And so this is an old client of mine that came to us, and they're like, we got no money. And I'm not even going to say it on here because it's insulting how much basically they had zero money for this. It was all basically production. And I was like, don't give a fuck. I love this brand. let's do it. And they were like, we have, we had no money, but we really want to we have this room in West Overton. All right. So West Overton, that's where they made Old Overhaul initially. It was the site of the original distillery. At Design Bridge, my team redesigned the full site for West Overton, and it's a museum now. But as going through that whole process, there was a room that opened up that was like kind of like the experiential tasting room that we had access to, and it was like 650 square feet. And they're like, you guys can do whatever you want to that for the brand itself. And I was like, sick. I want that. It's years of being like, if you guys do that, I want to do it. So what we did is we literally had a box with no walls in this place, and it's like this room, these two windows right here. And it's normally a tourist attraction, but we're like, we're going to make the best, most perfect tasting room possible, playing true to its history, full on. And you can start to see, like, this is literally what we had to work with. There was no walls up. There was no nothing. And we worked with contractors. We put the walls up. We had them remove some of the walls. We had to build a bar, which that was really crazy to get through the door with a crane. So we had to do interior design on all of it, jetting through this because this gift's moving faster. And then we created the Old Overhaul stateroom, which is kind of like the spiritual home of where we always wanted this brand to live and be and sit. And, the coolest part about this is like, this is an interior design project. But again, if you gave this to a bunch of interior designers, they wouldn't come up with this. First of all, they'd be like, fuck off. You got no real budget for this. And I was like, the budget is the constraint, which makes this even better. So we only can use old things. We had to thrift nearly all of this work. The bar build had to be bespoke because we couldn't find a big enough bar to do it, which was really cool. So then we got to design a literal bar. That thing's, I think, 13 foot long, which is a long bar to be crafting, and millworking or whatever. And so with this, we basically were like, we'll do it. Who cares? This is really early days of Tavern. My wife does a lot of interior design and styling and whatnot, so she helped me. And we literally would be driving from New York all the way to Pittsburgh, essentially, about 7 times. And the whole way we'd be thrifting on the way there, and we'd be picking up the pieces for this. I then, again, in the fuck Pinterest mentality, we should have a counter on the podcast. Every time we say fuck Pinterest, like,
yeah, man, nice.
So with that, it's like, we want to make this a museum at the same time, like literally, and show a bunch of old stuff. And the brand had some pieces from its past, that you can see here, but a lot of them we sourced ourselves. So I'm going to these thrift stores. I'm going to Brimfield, which is like in Massachusetts, this huge antiques fair every 3 times a year, talking to like these old heads, being like, you got anything from Old Overhaul? Half of them were like, no. And really like digging and finding really historical, crazy pieces that I never thought we'd ever be able to get, and then haggling deals on them, which is, part of the fun about it. And so we're like literally scouring and playing archivist, interior designer. You have the brand team in our ear the whole time too, being like, it needs to be on brand. It still needs to reflect back to the brand. And like, of course we're going to do that. But like, how do you balance that? So it was really this weird project that I don't know if it will ever exist again, because there was the brand team who gave a lot of shit about the history of this brand. And then you also had us who like were like dying the same way to give everything we had into this, knowing like maybe we'll never make another one of these. So it was really cool to kind of see that. And I think it was a really interesting design process of going and scouring for the pieces of all of it.
Yeah, very nice.
I'm just going to keep jetting through.
Yeah, please.
It's absolutely, it's beautiful, Mike. Yeah, I want to jump in, but I'm like, should I just let Mike keep going?
No, you might as well jump in between these projects. So like, go for like pepper me.
Yeah. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot. I always loved the Madre Mezcal packaging, and something that really resonated with me at the time of that is like, it feels like a movie prop.
Yeah,
it's so theatrical, and everything that you do feels like a movie prop, and it's so theatrical. And it comes back to when you said before as well, Mike, like, how does the internal team speak to whoever they need to speak to it in the brand tone of voice as well, which brings a level of theatre to everything. And I wrote this thing down a while back, which was write the movie for the brand and then design the props. So it's like writing the strategy, which is the movie script, and then you get to design the props. And I think putting that lens on things has started to allow me to make things beautiful again, rather than get stuck on ideas. But yeah, I thought I'd just drop that in because that's sort of what I'm feeling through your work.
First of all, the utmost compliment. So thank you so much. That rules. Like, couldn't have had a better compliment. So I appreciate it. I love that. I mean, I love all that. I'm gonna steal it with pride and definitely give you credit. But I like really like that. I'm obsessed with Ralph Lauren, and not. I mean, look, maybe I got a collar on today, so that's a bad example. But like, this isn't Ralph Lauren. But obsessed with Ralph Lauren, not because of the actual products that he makes, but the world in which he builds. Like, if you, and I encourage, this is a good little design practice for anyone listening that's in the New York City area. I encourage you to go to the flagship store uptown, to the Ralph Lauren mansion, because you'll walk through each room and it's like a whole different vibe. So you're downstairs, it's very preppy, you got all the cable knits and the sweaters and the polos and the bright colors, and it feels like this old, beautiful mansion. And then you walk upstairs and you walk into the double RL room, and it's like you walked into like a whiskey saloon, and it's incredible. And you just keep going through there's a Nantucket-y kind of, Hamptons-y room that you walk through, and it's all different clothing lines and brands, but like he literally builds these physical worlds, and that was deep inspiration for this, that aren't very cinematic. Like you feel as though you're stepping into a movie, and I think that's the best brand. I mean, he's the best brand world builder in history, in all brands. I think some people are chomping at his feet currently, but like historically one of the best. And I think it's because he takes a movie approach to it. I feel like there was an interview or a book with him where he talks about like being inspired by the movies to create the brands. And I agree. It's like the propping is it, right? Like the propping is the product, which is really cool. Because, not to get too deep here, and I don't know, like it's literally a prop in your everyday life too, right? Like at least a product, a booze product, it is. Like it's the thing you carry around, it's the thing that you interact with. So it's really just kind of agreeing with you. I think that's awesome. I love that approach. But the cinematic approach, I think, is so cool. I mean, even decorating my house. Like, I
was just going to say that, yeah. Things you feel proud to have outright.
Yeah. Like, decorating the house, you're like, I don't want just, like, a house that looks like it's my personality. I want to step into, like, this beautiful place. That's why I love hospitality a lot, because I think restaurants are an ever-evolving version of that in real time. Like, sure, you have the Ralph Laurens, you have luxury brands that will dump the money, but if you really like think about it, any good restaurant will really take you through that full experience, and you step into this different world that's them, and then it's like literally like serviced and curated by them, which is really cool too. The pro tip: treat your interior design of your house like you would if you were interior designing a restaurant. You get a little moody, you get the right vibe, right? Like you want to set the vibe within the house that you live in at all times.
Yeah, it resonates with me so much, Mike. And like you said, when you see this dusty asshole building, and you said some people might turn up and be like, what do we do with this? I'm looking at this thinking, look how historic this thing is. Look at the print on the outside. Look at the old doors, like the carving in the old wooden doors, and the brick where it starts to break. And yeah, what you've done with it's amazing. And the same with what you were saying before as well. Like, there's not budget for this, but the fact that all this is just sat there waiting to be done, it's like sometimes it's hard. Like, those opportunities are hard to turn down.
Totally. Yeah, I think there's no budget. There's always budget. There's always budget, or there's always ways to figure out how to do it. It's just a new design project for you, a design problem or a creative problem for you. I think that would be the takeaway here is like, I mean, literally no money to make all of this stuff. And somehow we turned it into a full room that's still being used, right? Like, there's always ways to find it, and like clever ways. And I think if we didn't have that, we'd buy a fucking sick bar, which I found some in my hunts that were like $200 that were restored and pulled from this historic place, and like all the juice, all the story that was really rich to that. When now we got to actually design a custom one and start to incorporate some of our brand cues. You can see like the keystone in there. We hand painted a lot of the stuff that's all kind of very subtle. You can't see in these photos, but like you can see when the lights kind of are dim and shining on it. We're introducing key brand assets and whatnot. But then like finding the pieces, like we would have went on eBay, ordered all the old Overholt stuff at a markup price, and I would have never found a painting that they used to do at literal paintings. You can see it in one of these photos, literal paintings for bar owners, and that's how they were doing their advertising, because this was like 1800s. I found this clock. It was like the last store on the last day of a scavenger hunt in like deep middle of Pennsylvania, looking for all these things. And I was like, I knew that there was this clock. I don't think we have a photo of it, but I knew that there was this. They used to make these little clocks, and it was very like 1930s, 1940s for Overholt. And it was like like if you were like the best bar, you'd get one of those, and it'd be sitting on your back bar. And I was like, we're never gonna find one. I went on auctions. I like called all these people of like past auctions, like how do I get one? No one wanted to sell it. No one had them. And literally this place, which I'm forgetting the name, but it's near Lancaster. Everyone just look it up. It's like the world's capital of thrift stores and antiques and whatever. And dude, when I tell you I've never made it through, there is just like a long road of warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. And it's dark, the stores are closing, and I'm like, let's just give it another pass. We're going to be done. We got to get to Overholt to start putting shit together, and we got to shoot that day. And I'm like in a little glass case. And I was like, no fucking way. It's one of these tiny little clocks. And I'm like, holy fuck. And there's a bunch of stories like that, but that was the big one where I was like, oh, fuck, I did it. It's perfect. We're done. This is the finishing piece. No one gives a fuck about this. No one's even probably going to care even after hearing this, of like this super niche 1940s clock that's literally this big that like is hidden on the back bar of this place, but has such history and it's so a white whale, impossible to find. I was like, yes, I fucking found it. I go and I'm like, I need it. I'm willing to spend my own money here. I'm willing to spend like $1,000 of my own money here just to like have this thing, because it's like I couldn't find it for 2 years straight as we were developing it. I go up and I asked this fucking old Pennsylvania guy, and I was like, oh, what about that? And he's like, oh, it's $350. And I was like, well, it's broken. It doesn't work. I'm going to have to fix it. You got to give me a fee. So I'm still haggling with him no matter what. I know I'm going to buy this thing. I got him down to $200. It was the biggest, maybe the biggest score ever. It was great. So that's that project. It's a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, nice.
That was such a fun one. That's like so opposite of design, but still very much design. World building. Nice. So we go pack world building to deeper world building and heritage. Burt's Bees. So I met some folks at Burt's Bees while working at TikTok, and that was kind of, I just kept poking them because I was like, this is such a good brand, such a heritage brand. It's 40 years old. This was for their 40th anniversary. And saving you a lot of it. We created this whole merch kit and then shot a bunch of this work for them and really brought it to life. We did there's this National Parks collection, which is a national, not technically a national park, it's like a national monument or whatever, where Burt's Bees basically gave tons and tons of land in Maine, where they started, for Mount Katahdin and the surrounding areas. So they did this collaboration there with them. And we created a bunch of merch and heritage things. So it was like 40th anniversary mixed with the launch of the National Monument, which is really awesome. We got to shoot it and do campaigns around it. So being more like, yeah, we're still making and designing the stuff and making the project that started as a merch project. They just wanted it to be a merch project and make us a couple hats. And we're like, nope, this is huge. We're going to go deeper and blow it out. We're going to do a full shoot and the whole 9 yards. And you're going to actually do media off of this. And they're like, we just want like some patches and a water bottle. No. So pushing it. And I think, again, going back to like the ever exploring, the ever pushing, that's the only way you get good work out in the world. And clients love it. They're like, oh, you want to do more work? I mean, this goes back to NBC Sports. So like, editor who's like, fuck off, dude, I have to deliver like 560s by the end of the day. Like, you want to do more work for me? Yeah. Come on. So just push the client. I think this came out awesome. I'm super stoked on that.
Nice.
Which then led to this one, which is real quick. It's slightly more, it's same world building mixed with out of home. And this is ever evolving. So we, very much Ralph Lauren inspired. It's this brand, Fisher's Island. It's the furthest most point on Long Island. It's nearly Connecticut. It's actually closer to Connecticut. You got to take a ferry from Connecticut to get there. And they created a lemonade. So not tons of heritage, but 10 years old. Needed a kind of relook and more lifestyle focus on it because, the Fisher's Island lifestyle and just like the Eastern Shore, the higher end Eastern Shore lifestyle was not really being portrayed. So that's what we brought into the world. Mm-hmm. Very much a like contemporary take on like Hamptonsy, Connecticut Shore, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard vibes on all of this, and updating the viz, but really pushing it into brand building, which is a lot of the photo shoots going deep there. And then this year we're taking a lot of this work and expanding upon it and doing all of above the line and below the line campaign work. So didn't do the packaging here, but did everything else from viz through the line to above it.
Yeah, wicked.
And the idea being the real kind of, I'm glossing over some big ideas in the for speed, but the real idea is like we wanted to make this cinematic, literally. You can kind of see it in the execution of the motion. But I also like if this brand is actually interesting. So it's been around for 10 years, kind of sells fairly well. It kind of in spite of itself. It was slightly declining until kind of got a kick in the butt here. And the problem was like it has a really cool history. The history of the product itself goes back to the Pequot Inn, which is a bar on the island, and they used to make it. And the founder, Branya, used to bartend as a kid there, and like they'd make these Fisher's Island lemonades in like big styrofoam cups. And it was whiskey, vodka, fresh squeezed lemon, and honey to sweeten. It sounds like a hangover. It sounds weird. Why would you ever mix that? So tons of like technical to get in the weeds of spirits, which I love doing, and I'll try and keep it high level. But like in the weeds, you're never pushing an RTD with two spirits in it. Like you're mad. Like everyone's gonna be like, that's a hangover bomb. No way. But it really makes the product what it is, and it's really cool. So technical challenges there from a communication standpoint, really getting consumers on board. But I think the biggest thing being is like we though 10 years, there's this rich heritage to this brand that we're not conveying, and there's this rich lifestyle to this brand. I mean, it's an island, right? Like it's better than Corona, which only has the beach. Like this is an island. This is like a prestigious island that doesn't have hotels on it. There's something so cool about this. So we need to sell that lifestyle. So, and it's so specific to Long Island. So you have, Dunesland and all of this stuff. But really, like, at the end of the day, that's all well and good. That's that great world that we're building for you. But, like, where are you going to get it? You're going to walk into a convenience store, whether on Long Island, which will be a little cooler and nicer, but you're going to walk into a convenience store on the East Coast. And what are you going to see? Fucking Budweiser shouting, this seltzer, that seltzer, screamy, big cans, drink me, right? Like really boring POS, really, really tactical POS. And so what we said, and you can kind of see it in this bottom right photo, is like, if everyone's big and shouting, let's be really quiet, because if we're quiet and subtle and lifestyle driven, we're going to sell a lot more. Because in this world, if you put that poster, make Jitney to the island worth the squeeze, with a really beautiful photograph, focus on the product, but really elevating the lifestyle. Very much editorial was the pitch. If everyone's shouting and being like performance media vibes, we're going to be very much editorial, classic. And so we cut through the noise, through all of that by being ourselves and building that world and encouraging it in that way.
Yeah, nice.
And then the last one, which also takes me forever to talk about, I think I got it to like 6 slides and a video. Like,
I played video. We're good.
I don't know.
If you're good for time, Mike, then
yeah, we're sweet.
Yeah. So, and then you kind of have, just a recap, you have your traditional pack, which we do a bunch of. You can see it on our website. Like traditional pack, high-end spirits to low-end spirits. I think everything in the middle is fine, but I really love like the bottom of the barrel spirits, which like Old Crow was one that we just launched, $15, $9, I don't know what it is. The cheapest of the cheap. I've worked on Smirnoff for ages, and Smirnoff Ice, so like the cheap shit. love it. Budweiser, right? Like cheap beer. All the way up to like super high end spirits. So the Old Granddad, which the Old Granddad core is like $20, but that one we're selling for 300. So you kind of have this balance of like high low, and I love the high low of it all. I worked, we started this as a hospitality, food, bev, and hospitality. It's trying to start like really high, and we're like, oh, cool, we'll do an Overholt room. We'll do these really bespoke experiences for a few people. We'll do high end, New York bars and restaurants, which at another agency did like speakeasy called Please Don't Tell, which is super high, one of the top 50 bars in the world. And then you got Sizzler, which is like, looks like a fucking airport lounge, like the saddest possible one, right? Completely, with a rich history. It started in 1958 as a steakhouse and just like turned into whatever the fuck this is. It was just a really sad state of affairs. Went through bankruptcy a few times, took over new ownership, which the new ownership is actually an old Budweiser client of mine, the guy who I lit up the World Cup with. So it was really cool.
Nice.
I got a whole long story of like how a creative director, design director of mine was like, you got to go make friends with these clients and just take them out to beer. And I was like, no, it's weird. Like, I don't want to take them out to beer. I'm like, take them out to beer. Specifically this one guy, you should go take this guy out to beer. And I was like, texting him. I was like, hey, you want to go get a beer? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm young. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm like, we're just going to go like have beers and talk about what? I'm going to talk about graphic design to you. You're like a client at Budweiser, like whatever. We actually became super good friends. And really close and made the work better. It was the best direction. Paul Sika, shout out. I haven't spoken to that dude in 10 years. The best thing he could ever done because it led me to Sizzler because we became friends. We really trusted you. And I think that's a good example for anyone in agencies or brand side. I don't care. Like, the good takeaway for the younger folks is get the client facing stuff. Whether it's a lot or a little bit, just get client facing. I don't care if you don't want to. You're going to have to want to because it'll make the work better. Because the only way you can do really great work on big brands is having a really good client relationship because they're either the gatekeeper or they're going to help you make it better. Like I said earlier, the account person, the strategist, and the designer, creative, multimedia, whomever, they are all equal in my mind. They all can come up with a really great big idea. They can all solve really great problems. And I think in some agencies, it's like, oh, you're just the fucking account person. Oh, the strategy said this, but like, I want to make this thing, so I'm going to ignore the strategy. Like, it's just not possible. And I think the same goes for client. Put them in that bucket. Like, client can have a really good idea. The client many times has had a really good idea. I think the greatest skill of a creative is, and I'm on a tangent, but the greatest skill of a creative, I feel like Ogilvy probably said that, is like being able to admit that the client's idea was great and giving up the credit. That had to be Ogilvy or one of those guys.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it's like this in New York. You guys can fill me in, but I do feel that sort of smoozing the client has become a bit of a dying art, especially in the UK. And I remember when I first got into the industry, and we're meeting with the clients, going for food, going for drinks. Like even as a junior, being a fly on the wall and just trying to soak all that in and building these relationships. It's helped me understand how important those relationships are. Like the older that we've got, the more experience that we've got, and I think to connect with a client emotionally is such a big part of it. And I think that they can bring odd and weird perspectives for things. Me and Christian talk about this sometimes, that the client's favorite animal might be an owl, and now all of a sudden that's inspired this thing which you would have never got there without emotionally connecting with that client. So yeah, I miss the schmoozing. I think we should bring back schmoozing.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. I think COVID fucked everything still, and we're going to feel those effects forever because people don't want to. I mean, like, people don't want to be in the office either. And I was a big proponent of like anti-office for a while. I was like, we fucking figured it out during COVID. We started this company during COVID, and we've done really great work. And it's like, there's no need for it anymore. And then it started to get sterile. And then we brought design. Design sits only in the office, which is kind of cool, for a few days a week. And the work between being at home and being at the office is like unparalleled. It's really weird. And I I hate saying it. I hate admitting it. I really hate admitting it on a big podcast because I sound like a boomer being like, get back to the studio. But like the work is so much better because you're just like interacting more and you're really like picking apart and pushing it. And I think sorry, I'm going to get to your point, but it's the same with clients. It's like, I feel like a lot of clients, some of them really do are like, I'm at home. I'm not coming into the office. Like we're going to get drinks or whatever. But then a lot of them, and most of ours, I started really getting more drinks, being more active, doing the more schmoozing. And the amount of, you get more projects, but the work just gets better. You become friends. And I do think like that's what leads a good relationship is like, you kind of got to be friends with your clients. Like I hate this notion, the classic, like, oh, the client wants the logo bigger or fuck the client, fuck this. It's like, that client needs to be your best friend. You need to like, link up and align to the vision, like you're not going to get anything good done. You're not going to get anything done by being the stick in the mud, creative, being like, oh, I appreciate my design, this and that. It's like, no, everyone plays a valid role. Everyone's part of this team. And back to sports. It's a team. All of this is a team. No one person is doing anything, and nothing great is being done just by a single person. It's really like all inputs from the team to get to that. So yes, I think we need more schmoozing. We need more just like getting beers. Like that's it. It's just like getting drinks or dinner with a client goes such a long way because you unlock things. I think you unlock things creatively, not just, economically the way that we used to. Before, I feel like it was a bit, the account folks would go take them out and schmooze them in that way. I think, and not to put words in your mouth, but I think it's less schmoozing. Maybe that's the wrong word. It's more just like building the relationship, and it has to be done in person. It needs to be it's connection with your clients to build a relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And I said schmoozing because it was like I guess everybody just knows what I mean by that.
No, totally. Yeah, no, I'm not. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's just humans being humans, isn't it? And again, everything you just said, we kind of just lost that touch a little bit with the whole COVID madness, and it's in some ways, I guess. But yeah, if just humans, especially with the AI developments and all this madness, and that's another conversation in general. Like authentically, just If
I never hear about Pinterest or AI. Again, I'd be so happy. Like, shut the fuck up. Go have a beer with your clients. Stop telling me how AI whiz bot, whatever the fuck, is going to make my meetings more efficient. How about I'm pushing for, again, I'm deep in this behavioral science stuff and like looking at things the opposite way. I think let's make things less efficient. You're going to there's more beauty in the less efficiency of all of it. We're going to get better work, go have a beer with your team and fuck off on a Friday at 3:00 and go have, some Friday beers. Yeah. You're going to get a lot more creative done than you would being efficient, jamming in, 6 meetings from 3 to 6 p.m. on a Friday than you would just drawing some shit on bar napkins and hanging out all the way through to the client. I'm over it. Yeah. I'm over this efficiency nonsense. Everyone needs to be creative and in person and hanging out more.
We're pretty efficient, aren't we, these days? Like, maybe too efficient.
It's too efficient.
There's not enough time to play and be bored. And I think, I know we're not finished here yet, Mike, but yeah, that's really what I'm getting out of this. And I think it's so refreshing for me and Christian to hear. Christian was saying the other day, like, he'd not really been out for a sit-down meal at a restaurant in New York throughout the whole year that he'd been there until recently. Yeah. And then he was like, well, if I go there and I go to this restaurant, I think of all the shit I'm going to be soaking up. Like, it's going to give me so much inspiration. And
seriously.
We're with you, Mike. We need to implement this into our lives.
Forget to live sometimes, getting stuck in the grind, innit? Do you know what I mean? And like sometimes that feeling of guilt and that sometimes you just got to wipe away and just get outside, innit? It just is what it is,
Totally. There's this quote that I heard recently on efficiency, and we'll move on. I just had to look it up. There's nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. We're too efficient. Let's fucking move on. Let's get back to creating art a little bit here, right? Instead of building systems.
Yeah.
All right. On that notion, talking about efficiency, this whole brand was built on it. It's you kind of queue up and you pay before you go, and And it was built on efficiency. So here's a good segue. So Sizzler was created in 1958 by Dell and Helen Johnson. They wanted to create, basically at that point, and honestly still to this day, some less affluent folks can't just go to a steakhouse. Not everyone can go to Peter Luger's like us and just have maybe the best steak of their entire lives, right? There's this lack of accessibility to steakhouses. They're old, they're dusty, they're expensive, they're pretentious. The list goes on. So Sizzler came and created a steakhouse so that was, there for everyone with choice meat, with good product. And I still do that to this day. Truly, you get a sick actual choice cut steak from Sizzler, and it'll be amazing for like well under $20. And so Sizzler was created where basically like you queue up in the chute, cattle chute, which I think they call it the queue or the chute, but we're calling it the cattle chute because we got to rebrand and make cute names for everything, of course. And so you're in the chute, and you order and you pay ahead, and you go to your table and then there's service. But then there's also the salad bar, which we now call the Sizzle Bar, which is a salad bar like you had at Pizza Hut and what have you. As far as my research goes, which, as you know, I'm very keen on doing deep brand historical research, we invented the salad bar. The idea of like you pay an extra bit and you can go and pick anything you want off this like all-you-can-eat buffet style salad bar. So some people have argued that it's Pizza Hut. We'll leave that up for debate, but it's the same idea. And so you had affordable steak, and then you could just leave because you already paid, right? We already know this because like some of our lunch spots now, it's like, you pay, you get the little number, and you just you already tipped, you already did your whole thing. You just leave after that. But they really invented that in the mid-century, which is weird. And it's this efficiency. And over time, they tried to change that, and people rejected it. And we even, taking on this project, we were like, hold the phone. We want to be a nice steakhouse. Maybe we should act like a real restaurant and change this whole model. And they were like, it's kind of like going into Costco and telling them that the hot dog shouldn't be $1.50. They're like, I'll fucking kill you. You change this process. This is paid for. There's a reason for this. And it's a family steakhouse, which is this thing we uncovered where we were like, oh, that's kind of the big idea here is like putting the sizzle back in Sizzler is the big idea. But like, really, what is this? It's a family steakhouse at the end of the day. Because you have old dusty steakhouses, you have the pretentious steakhouses. This is one for the family where everyone can enjoy it. And from that, there was this really interesting insight that if you're a family, you're a young millennial family, and you have 2 kids, when the kids are hungry, they're hungry right now. They're not hungry in 10 minutes when you get to the restaurant. They're not hungry after the server took your drink order, went back to get the drink order, delivered the drinks, gave you the menus, told you about the specials. They're fucking hungry now. And this is one easy way to get you in, get you out, but still get quality, good food and a restaurant style experience. But then even better, right, is like when they're done with the meal, they don't want to sit there and have a cappuccino or an espresso. They don't want to bullshit and hang around. When they're done, when they're hungry, they're hungry. When they're ready to go, they're ready to go. They're children. They don't want to do the check dance with the server and like, oh, here's my card. Blah, blah, blah. They want to fucking leave. And so this system is actually perfect for that, right? Like it's built for families and it's built to have like a full-blown experience, but at the same time, really ease the user journey, specifically the family user journey throughout all of this. And at the same time, everything that kind of happens in the in-between is really geared towards the family as well. But
Mike,
yeah.
Sorry, just before you flick onto the next page, can I just run to the toilet very quickly?
Oh yeah.
I don't want to miss it. I'm shaking here. I don't know why I've loaded up so much on drinks,
I know. I try and be so technical. On Michael, do you think? I try and be so tight of it, me, Mike, and techie. But I'm the same. I drank a full one of them now. And podcasting,
Sizzler before, like, let's give it some due. And look, modern heritage brands. I love, like, when people ask, like, what's your favorite, like, what's your dream client? People are always like, oh, Nike or whatever. And you're like, fuck that. I want the weirdest, worst, disgusting looking brand because it's just like all upside. Like Sizzler, like, I know it was cool back in the day. You can just see, like, knowing that it's I don't know, 75 years old almost, you know that it was cool back in the day. Like it wasn't an airport airport lounge buffet, all those years. Like it had to succeed for some reason. And I always am like my not that you asked the question, but my dream client is U-Haul or like brands like that, or just like pieces of shit that have been around for so long. It's like a moving company. It's like a rental van company.
Yeah.
There's one like every 10 miles or some shit, and like they're orange and disgusting. Look up, but like that's the kind of shit like, and Sizzler perfectly falls into that category. It's like everyone knows what Sizzler is. And if you ask anyone in the U.S. and even in Mexico, which was like the craziest experience, is like we were in a van driving to Tequila, Mexico, with like a bunch of brand team members for a tequila brand. And it's like 2 hours on a dirt road with no Wi-Fi, and we're like, me and my strategist are like talking about like a project or whatever. And the one woman turns around and she goes, "Are you talking about Sizzler with the cheese toast?" And I was like, "We're in nowhere right now. We're nowhere in a different country." And she's like, "I fucking love the cheese toast from Sizzler. Sizzler's the best place ever." She grew up in the States for like 8 years. So it was like roughly being born to 8 years old before she moved back to Mexico, and obsessed with it because it was in Southern California. So like there's this weird, like this brand is so big and so ingrained. And I think maybe one of the biggest true anomalies in brand, and I haven't been, please correct me if I'm wrong and give me other examples, but we haven't been able to figure it out. This brand has so much awareness in spite of itself, and no one knows if it's even still open. So like what other brand has all this awareness? Is like, I know it's Sizzler's cheese toast. I love it. White man can't jump. Like blah, 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 blah. This is awesome. I'd love to go there. Is there one? No, there's only 80 of them, and they're all on the West Coast. So like, I swear I went to one as a kid. I swear, like, it's like so, it's almost, it's borderline Mandela effect of like, what the heck, this is real, but it's not real. Have I been there? I don't remember. So it's so ingrained and has so much equity, but not really the stores or the footprint or even the brand to show up for it. So we had to bring that all back and bring it in. So we kind of gave them a little sizzle, if you will. Put the sizzle back in Sizzler. And so I'm going to keep it quick and be more like brand focused on it, but really gave them all of the pieces, dug into the heritage, pulled everything from the heritage. The biggest one was like, you can't touch the logo, which like,
classic.
That was the logo. Classic. Yeah, of course. It's like, can we touch the logo though? And they're like, don't fucking touch the logo. And you're like, okay, I won't. I get it. And there's really tactical reasons for this one because it's franchise and franchise agreements. So you got these people who have been running this brand for decades, presumably not making tons of money off of it. And then, some hotshot Brooklyn agency with a bunch of kids is like, you should change that logo, dude. I know it's going to cost you each $70,000 to change that big sign, but trust us, it'll be worth it. And like, if it goes tits up, like we don't fucking care that you wasted $70,000. So I get it. I think they're very tactical. Yeah. Again, there is beauty in restraint sometimes. And that is a design challenge. And I think it would be a complete disservice to the business case of this if we were to just do that sizzly little logo, the one that's literally sizzling at the bottom. That was the goal. We're like, oh, we found this on a matchbook from the 1960s. It's Sizzler. It's an old typeface. It's literally sizzling. It's onomatopoeia to the nth degree. It's like, it's C-say as fuck. Like, that's going to win us 1 million pencils. Let's fucking do this. Let's go. And then you're like, oh, I don't know. Probably not. That's probably not the best business case. Again, respecting the people who are the franchise owners. And so we still tuned it up. I mean, we fixed some letters. The dot on the I was drifting a little bit. We brought it back and like sharpened up some bits and stripped out all of the like drop shadow and 3D effects and whatever and just cleaned it up. So no one had to change any signage. As we start to transition, they'll change over signage, but we're not costing anyone a dime while still maintaining the brand. And I think, not just like that's like the design case and the slight business case for it. From a brand perspective, this brand was famous in the 80s and 90s. It was like peak famous in the 90s. And all of those insights that I was talking about, it's like in everyone's mind is from the 90s, and it's that logo specifically. So if you have all this awareness and all this stuff working for you in the mind, and we're trying to attract, and we're a family restaurant. We're trying to attract millennial families because that's who has families and kids right now and are going to these places, and we want to go to these places. We're going to give you some cute little logo that us designers or design for design's sake think it's really cool. Or are we going to give you the thing that's actually ingrained in your mind from memory structure that's actually going to drive you to the brand and reinforce it? And that's why. But it'd still be cute. We're still designers, still gotta have a little fun. So we took that logo and put it on a slant, and you really stamp it down whenever it's in motion, like a cattle brand. Steak.
Yeah,
cattle
brand. That was the fuck you, wasn't it? The little tilt.
They won't do it, but
I love the weird and quirkiness though that comes because you're probably as a designer with the brief, you're probably not just going to put those two lines at the top and then have that weird little. But that's sort of like the quirk that makes it sort of like
unmistakable. Unmistakable sizzler. Yeah.
Totally. And then and you can see in the burger, we like literally brand the burgers and stuff now. It's just really fun. So, and then
the two Z's, great.
Yeah, the sizzling Z's, and then that comes in. You can see
nice.
The sizzler. That's part of the full tone of voice package. So we did their tone of voice, but not just verbal, it's how it comes to life. And then renaming menu items, literally add a sizzle into everything. And then it gets really fun when it's like Sizzler, sizzling. So you can see, you guys are creative. You get how to roll it out from there.
Yeah, love it.
Fun with it. Introduce new characters and stuff. But the biggest one was I don't have the video in here, so I'll save you all some time. But doing the interior exterior of the stores. And we actually just got a text message on Friday from this store, this specific one that we remodeled. Should be Lupin. And it looks better than we did in the mock-ups. Normally you do these mock-ups and you're like, oh, we're going to fly through and it's going to look like so much thicker than it actually is. Well, I think because we are balancing that modernity and the heritage, and we took all that wood paneling is like classic steakhouse wood paneling, but we took all of the wood from the existing remodel because the store is 50 years old or whatever. And we reused all of that wood, reclaimed all the wood and reused it in the actual restaurant as the paneling. So it's not traditional kind of wood paneling. It's kind of a little bit more hand done and bespoke and unique. And it's like the original pieces. So we're being a little bit environmentally friendly with it all. But and there's a huge picture wall with the history and the whole 9 yards. So it really got pushed way crazier as we started to develop and shoot this. And we're going to shoot these in a few months. But it really fun when you get to do the whole thing. Because again, going back to the cinematicness, to all of it, it's a restaurant, it's not just about the brand. Like, yes, this is helpful. This is really great for before you get into the restaurant, but once you get into the restaurant, that's the real richness and that's the experience that you're trying to drive. We did these, which the bull we found on the roof of some and couldn't find them ever again, so we brought them back, renamed them Ribby Ribeye, and then reshot it and really made it all come to life.
Did they make the massive bull on top of the store as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's so epic.
Yeah.
I saw an image the other day and it was how McDonald's used to look in the 90s, and it's so colourful and playful and horribly red and horribly yellow. It's fun and exciting, and especially in the UK, it feels American. To have something which is so loud and garish like that. I feel like we don't do that as big and as good as you guys, right? But if you look at a McDonald's now, it's this really cold sort of slate green colour. It's all the wood. But it looks clean and contemporary, but it's lost the magic of McDonald's.
When I see
that big, exactly. It needs some modern heritage.
It went too modern. It's too modern. You got a modern heritage scale.
Modern heritage. So it needs a tavern approach.
Hit us up.
That's lovely.
Let's do it.
The cheese toast is lovely. Very nice.
So being that's cute.
Nice.
So. But and that's the problem. I think all of chain restaurants and quick service and fast service restaurants like McDonald's, they're all, Chipotle is another one, which I'd love to take a stab at. It's these are great fucking boxes. What are you doing? It's Mexican food. What about that great fucking box screams Mexico at all. I think Taco Bell is the same problem. If you look at like 60s, 70s, 80s, some of the 90s Taco Bells, they're sick. They are great. They're purple and orange and yellow and bombs of color and fun. And like that's why we loved fast food as kids. Like it was really cool. There was giant ball pits in McDonald's and Ronald McDonald's statue out front of it. Like it was fun and cool and like a little world that you got to jump into as a kid. And now it's just like cost cutting. I feel like it's, you know, procurement just took the cleaver to anything fun about how we do user experience in chain restaurant. I think same thing goes for like the Gap. That's a fun one. Look at like 90s Gap and then go to a Gap this weekend or next weekend. You're going to be so fucking depressed. It looks like it's just gray. There's nothing. The stacks of clothing are off. But you go and it used to be this full-blown, beautiful experience, tons of color and pop. I think color, that's the problem. We've like lost having a black and white brand and really having only black and white products of all sorts myself. I do miss the like color of it all. Like we've gone into such this gray world that we need a burst of like fun. Maybe that's the unlock. That's what it is for Sizzler. Just fuck them with a ton of red to make it like more fun and more sizzle. Put the sizzle back in it.
Yeah, nice.
Probably shouldn't say fuck them with a ton of red for a family steakhouse. So leave me on that one.
You kill me. Awesome, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Really good. Really good. Thank you so much for taking us through all that and pulling it together and everything, you know, and for taking 2 hours out of your Sunday to take us through it again.
I just fucking ramble for an extra hour.
No. We're so thankful. Do not apologize. We're so grateful and thankful for this. Like, we appreciate your time massively. Do you know what I mean?
No, thank you. This is great.
So from that, not to keep you any longer, but just a couple more minutes. If you was going to do it all again, Mike, what would you tell yourself? Right at the beginning, starting out, what would it be?
Damn, I don't know. I should have thought about this one.
I should have probably prompted it as well, do you know what I mean?
But I've listened to the podcast, so I should have probably listened to that. I should have probably... maybe do your research. That's...
You definitely do your research, Mike, if anyone does the research.
I don't know. I wouldn't do it any differently. I think, like... maybe, like... You know, early on, I was very precious about design. I know we explored and cared much less about. I just actually did this for a separate thing someone asked me about, where I was like, yeah, just read more. That's kind of my big advice to younger people is like read about everything. Read about design. Read about not design. Read about strategy. Read for fun. Listen, you can listen to it. You don't have to. We're still designers.
I am more of a listener. I'm not gonna lie. I'm more of a listener than a reader. But
I'm a listener. I gotta read like this. But but listen. Dive in, take in all the content, and just learn. I guess. Like I think I was so focused on just design and making everything so perfect for so long in my career, to when there was a switch where it was like more strategic, more big idea focused, that like really change the way I do things. And then that even goes to like, being with the clients more and developing teams more, working wider with the team. Being less precious is what I would do. And I'd start kind of as holistic again, if that's an answer.
Yeah.
Read
I love
more,
it. Yeah.
Digest more information, learn more. Let's not call it read. Let's learn more in different areas of expertise that are adjacent to you. And really focus on your team members, but your team members are also account people, strategists, multimedia people, and more specifically, your team members are still the client. You need to be best buds with the client.
Love it. I think that's a great place to end it. Michael, what do you think? Have you got any more?
No, that's amazing. I think I could go for hours, Mike. I think I think we definitely cross paths as well, which I think I'll speak to you about this once we hit stop. But yeah, no, absolutely amazing. And like I said, I think that this sort of journey of brands which feel a bit more theatrical and sort of storytelling at every moment is something that I'm really gravitating towards more as a designer. And I think you're doing just exactly that. And like hats off to you. It's amazing what you're doing, and congratulations on all your successes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, second that, bro. It's sick, and it's like me and Michael are just trying to do the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Gain as many perspectives as we possibly can. You know, make some right turns, make some wrong turns, but enjoy the process in the middle of it all, and hopefully have something that we can own one day. You know what I mean? And sit back like you are now, and you know,
Oh
enjoy.
no, I'm not sitting back at all.
There's no sitting back.
Well, you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean.
Here's the takeaway. There's no sitting back. Here's the takeaway. And this is, you know, I somewhat thought like, oh, cool, I'll build a really good team, and like the team will just go, and I could just, you know, oh, that's cool. Try this. That's it. You know, go play golf. You know, maybe try and make it on the senior tour. I'm not joking. That was like definitely in the back of my mind. I was like, yeah, I could hit 60 and maybe play a couple tournaments on the senior tour. I'll just play golf. Start a studio and play golf. No, not happening. Haven't played golf in 6 months. I had a baby, so it's a little different. Still haven't played golf in 6 months. It is grind. I literally feel like we're on year 3 of Tavern. I feel like I just started. I know I'm talking about like my past life of different designing. I literally feel like it's ground zero. It's negative right now. And we're starting from scratch. And every client's like that. It's never going to get fucking easier. I mean, we're talking about like motivational sayings. It's like, you don't, it doesn't get easier, you get better. It's like fucking true. It's starting over all of the time. It's constantly starting from scratch and pushing and trying to make better creative. And it only gets harder, but like it's fun. That's the fun part about it. It's kind of like the best part though is like we're not done and you can't just like make a team and like fuck off and like make a cool pack. It's like we gotta break our brains every single time.
Yeah, nah, I fully hear that. I definitely wasn't saying like definitely wasn't saying sitting back and chilling. I know it's not chilling. I feel most of life. And again, martial arts, Michael, innit? It's like you only start really learning when you got your black belt. Do you know what I'm saying? So you're at black belt level now, Mike, and now it's time to fucking work. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it does every stage with white belt to blue belt to purple belt. You know what you know, but there's always someone ahead. There's always a new challenge. There's always a fresh thing, you know. And then it's holding your own. So now you're at a point where you really are holding your own. You know.
Love it.
Amazing, Mike. Can't thank you enough. I look forward to hitting you at the actual tavern, hopefully in a couple of weeks, and meeting everyone, and you know what I mean, and jamming in real life more. And yeah, man, sick, bro. I'm looking forward to getting to know you.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, bro. Peace.
Nice one, Mike. Thank you.